Iran's attack on Israel wasn't unprovoked. It's clear that this is the narrative that the US, Israel, and other Western powers want to run with, that Israel was just randomly attacked by Iran. But that's not what happened, and everyone knows that. 2 weeks ago, Israel bombed the Iranian embassy in Syria and killed one of Iran's top generals. This is basically an act of war. Under the 1961 Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, diplomatic buildings are protected under international law even in wartime. Yet not a single statement coming out of Western countries even mentions this. For the last 2 weeks, Iran has been telling the world that Israel should be held accountable for this, that they shouldn't just be allowed to bomb embassies and get away with it. And what happened? Nothing. The day after the embassy attack, Russia proposed that the UN Security Council make a joint statement condemning the embassy bombing, and what happened? The US, UK, and France tried to say Iran was to blame. Now these countries are actually putting out statements saying that Iran is trying to sow chaos in the region, that Iran is acting irresponsibly, and that they'll defend Israel and Israel's right to self-defense. Obviously, the country that's blowing up hospitals, schools, churches, mosques, let alone embassies, is the one sowing chaos and acting irresponsibly. Joe Biden, Emmanuel Macron, and Rishi Sunak haven't all forgotten that Israel bombed Iran's embassy 2 weeks ago. Their statements are deliberate attempts to obscure the truth. And the fact that our leaders are actually trying to convince us that Iran is the aggressor should be highly, highly concerning to everyone. Because Israel is already using this as a pretext for a military operation against Iran. Politicians in Israel are already calling on Israel to carry out an attack on Iran on a scale we've never seen before. And mind you, Israel has wanted war with Iran for decades. They've lobbied our governments to go to war with Iran for decades. And now our leaders are basically rubber stamping Israel's pretext to do it. The question every American needs to ask themselves right now is what this U.S. relationship with Israel is actually worth to you. They seriously want us to back Israel going to war with Iran in a war they're instigating after we just watched them slaughter 13,000 children and engineer a famine in a city of 2 million people. The U.S. could have condemned Israel's embassy attack at any point, but they didn't. The U.S. could have condemned the destruction of every hospital in Gaza, but they didn't. The U.S. could have condemned Israeli leaders comparing Palestinians to animals and calling for Gaza to be turned into a graveyard, but they didn't. Now these people actually want us to follow them into what could very well be a regional or global war to defend the survival of a genocidal ethno-state. What exactly does that say about them?